I'm going to call the meeting to order at 9:35 a.m. Want to take a roll call?
Markham? Here. Middleton?
Here.
Quarles? McGillivray?
Here.
Howell? Miller?
Here.
Long?
Here.
Howell? Here. Zapp?
Here. We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
McGillivray, Long. Any discussion? None? Let's voice vote. Call the roll. Oh, okay. Okay, if not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, with that, approval of the agenda. Are there any walk-ons or anything different?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Support with Markham. Seeing none, moved by Middleton, seconded by Markham. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Opposed? Nay. Any further, okay, hearing none, okay. With that, is there any public comment? Okay, with that, communications. Do I have a motion on the communications?
Move it. I'll move it. A through
Second by-
D, yeah.
A through D.
Second by Miller. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying, roll, no.
No, you can do it.
No, I can't find it, so that's all right.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Now we're on to the regular agenda, and our first item is a presentation from the Oakland County Arts Authority, and if you want to go to the end of the table, make sure that your green light is on in the mics. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners, for having us here. My name is Dave Flynn, and I'm Senior Vice President for Public and Community Affairs at the museum. And with us today, we have Salvador Slort Pons, who's the CEO, President, and Director of the museum. And with us is Chair Thomas Costello, who chairs the Art Authority for Macomb County and puts in a ton of work.
Oakland County.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I forget where I am sometimes. My roots. But the chair of the Oakland County Art Authority and does a tremendous job and is a real champion and advocate of the museum in making sure that your tax dollars are spent wisely. And also with us is Gretchen Adler, who sits on the Art Authority, and Julie McFarland, Public Affairs Officer at the museum, and Terry John, who is the Executive Director of all of our learning and audience engagement. To be respectful of your time, how long should our presentation be?
How long would you like?
15 minutes? 10 minutes?
10 minutes is great.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Like I said, everybody says it's 45.
So we'll keep it to 10 minutes, but we know there's some new commissioners, and we come out to the art authorities and the county commissions 3 times a year. In the winter, we talk about our upcoming program plan, which all the details are in your packet, and we're happy to answer questions today or offline. And in the spring, we come out and give our audited review of our previous year annual report that the numbers are audited through Plant Moran. And then in September of the fall, we come out and we present a half-year report to make sure you know that we're making progress on what our investment goals are and our participation goals are. as well as levy the millage for the next year. And so here's our PowerPoint presentation. Back in 2012, just to kind of recap, the voters of Oakland County approved a millage for the Art Authority and the Detroit Institute of Arts. It's 0.2 of 1 mil. That means if you own a home that's $150,000 a year, you pay $15 a year. In exchange for that, you get free general unlimited admission throughout the entire year. And we've done a lot of research in the community of people who go to museums and who don't go to museums. And across the board, the most valuable program to residents that we found is our education program. We will offer a field trip to any school in Oakland County, public, private, homeschool, etc. And we offer the field trip, which is hopefully based on the curriculum that we have in the state of Michigan. We also provide the busing. We reimburse the school districts 100% for the buses, and if they don't have a bus system, we send a bus out to those communities. We well exceeded our 16,000 student goal that we have in Oakland County, and every year throughout the region, we bring through the 3 counties, we bring over 65,000 students throughout the communities. Think about that impact. It's huge, especially in a time where a lot of classrooms have cut their art and culture budgets. We offer professional development for teachers. Over 1,300 teachers throughout the region have gone through our professional development that a lot can count for their recertification for their license in the state of Michigan. And they bring back those skills to the classroom, critical thinking, VTS, etc. Every Thursday at the museum, we have a senior activity. The first is a tour each month. Then we have a film theater experience. We have an experience in our art studio where people sit down and they make art and take it home with them. And we have over, I believe, 80 trips last year throughout the county. So if you have a group of seniors, over 25 people, we'll send a bus any place in Oakland County, pick them up, and bring them down to the museum. And last but not least, the 4 pillars I've talked about have been free admission, our school trip, our senior program, and what we do is community partnerships where we partner with local nonprofit organizations. And one of the programs that we have is Inside Out, which you see the high quality reproductions placed across the county. It's a program that we know is valued and people get excited about. And so we do that throughout Oakland County in the spring and the fall. Some of the community partnerships that we have are we bring groups down to the museum, we bring veterans down, we bring people who go through our community mental health system down, we bring students, and we're trying to build capacity in that area. We work with Clarkston last year, as you can see on the screen, and that's a public art mural that tells the story of the history of Clarkston. And we work with the local nonprofit, and we work with the city, and we know that communities are craving public art, and that's something that we're going to be investing more in 2019. Arts Beats and Eats, we have Minds on Art. We're working with Oakland Community College on a 3-year partnership, and it's going to be comprehensive and rounded, and that's something that hopefully we'll be announcing in the next couple months with the details on that, and it's something that we're really proud about. And so in 2019, you can see what we're required to do per our service agreement, which is the contract with Oakland County. You can see what our plan details, which is far and above what our actual requirements are. And you can see what our goals are for student and senior participation. And since my boss is right next to me, I went through that as quickly as I possibly could. And he's going to be talking about some of the upcoming exhibitions that we have at the museum. And then after that, we're happy to answer any questions of the committee.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, the committee, for allowing us to present today. It's great to be here, and I'm just happy to report that we have a fantastic set of exhibitions at the DI for 2019. And I'm very proud to say that all these exhibitions are going to be free for residents in Oakland County. So that is important to say because it takes a lot fundraising and finding resources to make sure that we bring great art for the residents and that this is accessible and free for all. Last year we did very well with our exhibitions. Our exhibitions is one of the main drivers for attendance. And as you know, we had the Star Wars exhibition, which was very, very successful during the summer. We had over 140,000 visits. And our attendance this year is 18% better than last year, which is very good because that means that people love the museum and they come and enjoy the programs that we provide for them. We start this year with this exhibition, Extraordinary Eye, Extraordinary Gift, The Legacy of Margaret Dumont, which was an Oakland resident, a passionate collector.
Huntington Woods.
Huntington Woods, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And she was a friend of mine and one of the first people that I met when I came to work for the DIA. And she just had an incredible passion for the museum and for collecting, and he established very good relationship with our staff, with our curators, and was able to collect an amazing number of works of art that she bought for pennies and now are worth millions, and everything came to the museum. We opened this exhibition last January. I don't know if you had the opportunity to check it out, but if you haven't, please let me know. I'd like to walk you through the show. It looks like a lawn show. It looks like all the works came from the Metropolitan Museum of the National Gallery. It is an extraordinary, extraordinary work. And you know, this is the kind of work that the museum does in the community, working with patrons, working with supporters that collect, and then the collection come to the museum as a give back to the community, and then we share these masterpieces with the community. All this reverts back in the residents of the Tri-County area. The next show we just opened, it's on pop art. This comes from our holdings of prints and drawings. We have one of the best collections of pop art on paper in the United States, and this is because our curators collected very well in the 1960s and in the early 1970s, and the collection shows that array of masterpieces that we would not be able to buy today with the funds that we have. It also features a number of gifts from residents of Oakland County that contributed to the museum, and they were collecting at the time with the curators, collecting the same things that the museum was collecting. And in the end, these things came to the museum and now enrich our collection. We also have some loans from residents of Oakland County in this exhibition from the collection of Mark Schwartz, who is one of the greatest collectors of prints and drawings in the country, and he lent us a number of pieces by Andy Warhol. It is a rare opportunity to see this exhibition, and the reason why is because works on paper are rarely shown. They are very sensitive to light, so we can show them only a number of months during a period of 6 years. So for example, this work will be on view for 6 months and then will be in the dark for over 5 years. So it is really a unique opportunity to see these pieces. The next show is baseball at the DIA. It's the second iteration of this exhibition. It was very successful last year. As I mentioned this morning, the only criticism that we had about this exhibition is that it was too small. People wanted more, and we can only do what we can do, but the exhibition this year is going to be fantastic again. We are featuring the Detroit Tigers, but also the Detroit Wolverines. We're getting a number of loans from the Detroit Historical Museum, and we're going to be showing a number of cards, beautiful cards that were not on view last year, plus new works are from the DIA that feature baseball themes. This is a way for us to say that the museum is for everyone. We want to expand our offer. We want to do exhibitions and programs that really serve different audience and communities. And it's a way for us to say we're accessible, we're a place for everyone. The following exhibition that we will be opening in the summer, which is one of the main shows that we have in 2019, is Humble and Human, Impressionist Era Treasures from the Albert Knox Gallery in Buffalo and the Detroit Institute of Arts. This is a wonderful collection between the two organizations in which we are celebrating the 100th birthday of Ralph Wilson. As you know, Ralph Wilson lived in Grosse Pointe. He was the owner of the Buffalo Bills, and after he died, his family established a very important foundation that is going to be dedicated to help Detroit and Buffalo. In the auspices of this foundation, we were able to create this exhibition that is going to bring to Detroit over 20 pieces from the Albert Knox Gallery of Impressionist, Post-Impressionist, and Modern art. Van Gogh, Monet, Gauguin, like the one that you see in the screen. These are pieces that rarely travel, so it is an amazing opportunity to see the Detroit Institute of Art Impressionist collection together with this collection in a celebration of Ralph Wilson and the culture of the city of Metro Detroit. The next show is Out of the Crate. This is an exhibition that we do and celebrate gifts and acquisitions during the last years. On the right-hand side, you see a painting by Archibald Montley. This is a new acquisition from the DIA. He was one of the main artists that developed the Harlem Renaissance, and is a great addition to our African American collection. We'll have one of the best collections of African American art in the world. On the left-hand side, this gift of a fantastic painting by Philip Guston. We have 3 paintings by Guston. This was given to the DIA by 2 Oakland County residents, Madge and Bill Berman, who recently passed away. And it is a way, again, to show our connections with Oakland County and how all we benefit from their collecting, the museum, and the ability that we have to share these works back with the community. In the fall, we will be opening Detroit Collects, in which we'll be featuring collections of African American art in Oakland County and Wayne County. This is a great celebration of this area of collecting. I have to say that Detroit and Metro Detroit is the place that has been collecting the longest African American art in the United States. We're telling this story, we're creating a catalog and giving voices to the collectors in Oakland and Wayne County, and it's a way for us to establish new connections and new relationships with our residents. Last but not least, guest of honor is this fantastic exhibition that is going to be featuring 2 sculptures coming from the Louvre in Paris. These are 2 busts made in terracotta, which is baked clay representing George Washington and Ben Franklin. This guest of honor from the Louvre is going to be installed in the American wing, and our curators and interpretation teams and education teams are working together with the schools in Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb County to create a display that display a story that will fit with the curriculum of the schools, so we can explain and create a beautiful story of these early moments of the creation of the nation, and also featuring the founding fathers. So it is great to feature American art, to feature these amazing figures of American history, and to feature this amazing loan from the Louvre, showing the great things that the DIA is able to bring to Detroit from the best museums across the country. I will say one more thing before I finish my remarks. Next year we have a fantastic line-up of exhibition. I don't want to reveal much about it, but we have an exhibition on car design featuring the greatest contributions of car design of Detroit, until we will be having what I believe is going to be one of the best exhibitions that the DI has ever organized. It's called Van Gogh in America. And because we are the first museum in the United States to buy a painting by Van Gogh, we're going to tell the history of collecting Van Goghs in America. We are bringing to Detroit over 50 works by Van Gogh from museums all over the world, and I think it's going to be one of the greatest exhibitions the residents of our county have ever been able to see here in Detroit. So thank you very much.
Thank you for everything that you're doing for us, leading wonderful creative programming. It's too bad that our director isn't very passionate. So with that, any questions? Commissioner Powell.
With the students, is there like a cap of students that can come at one time?
So, obviously, knowing people that are familiar with education and our teachers know that everybody tries to have the field trips at the same time, and we do have physical capacity. But what we're working to try to do is smooth that throughout the year and create special opportunities in times where we do not have as many students. And we're working on plans to utilize our studio and our film theater more, which we know are open, as well as Parks and Rec programs in the summer, because those are also educational K-12 opportunities. But you know, we do our best to accommodate every school that calls and wants to accommodate, yep,
Okay, and
absolutely.
then for the deaf community, if you was to get a group of people who come that are hearing, my parents are deaf, so I'm just
Yep.
asking. Would it be the group's responsibility to get the interpreters, or will you all supply the interpreters?
We supply the interpreters if the group doesn't have one they wanna bring. Some groups come with interpreters, and
But do y'all assume the cost, or the organizations assume the cost?
we budget for that,
Oh,
yes.
okay, great, thank you.
And
Thank you, Commissioner Kowal.
Well, I know you'll find this hard to believe, but I actually qualify for the senior program there. I was just wondering, do you have to come with a group on a Thursday, or can you just come down by yourself, or grab a friend?
So it is a group program, but one of the things we know is that not every individual over 55 years and older wants to be on a bus or as part of an organized group. And so we're working to create an individual program where you can drive down to the museum and then participate in whatever the activity is that day.
You're working on it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Middleton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you have any data before the millage passed of how much student activity you had? Now you have students, you know, you keep track of how many students are coming. How much of an increase did we get when we went to that?
More than double. Under 30,000 prior to the millage.
And now it's 65,000 in the 3 counties. And the field trip, the tickets are paid for, the gallery teachers, the tour, as well as 100% of the busing, transportation.
Yes?
Yes, you know, as your chair of the authority here, we'd like to thank you for everything. Glad you had the chance to listen to Salvador and David. We're doing a lot of things, but we need your help too, because we have some very good programs we can do, and you're out in your communities and your districts, and it could be a church group, it could be a school group, it could be a senior group, and just give a call down and we'll try and fit something in. We've exceeded, with this leadership of the DA, all the set-asides that were rightfully put in for passing the millage, and we can do great things, or if you see some spots you think might be a good fit for some of the other things you've heard about today, don't be bashful, give us a call and we'll try our best to make it happen.
Thank you.
I'd just like to follow on our chair of the Arts Authority. You know, we do great projects in the museum, we bring great art, but it's very important that the community knows about this. If they don't know, it's like we don't do anything. So if you have any opportunity for me to come to any of your communities or constituencies to speak about our programs and exhibitions, to also, if they want to ask about the future of the museum, or they have feedback for us or ideas that they want to share, please let us know, because we'll be more than happy to come and speak with your communities and constituencies.
Thank you. Any more questions? Commissioner Miller?
I appreciate you coming. I was in the meeting this morning, and I'm more excited now that you're talking, looking at you. This stuff with the students got me excited, and the senior stuff with the busing and stuff is great. Question is, if in my district, if they're looking to do some kind of mural like you did with Clarkston, how would they go about that?
Let's have an offline conversation, because we're in the process of investing more in public murals, because we know that that's in demand. And I'll give you my card and we can talk about that. And just so everybody knows in their packet, if anybody does want to book a school trip, a senior trip, in here is the direct phone number and emails to access all of that programming that we have. And one other Art Authority member, the newest one, is Ann Vanderlaan, and I was be remiss if I didn't mention her as well.
I just had one more. I appreciate like just the tiger stuff. You got me more excited than the Van Gogh stuff. Like this is amazing. Like it's snowing outside. I'm happy. It's like 90 out there right now. It's sunny for me. So I appreciate that.
We'd like to remind you too of the theater we have in the films. We're just concluding the shorts. That was a total sellout, you know, and that, again, brings people from Oakland and the area, and it's a great bargain. It's a beautiful theater. Parking is inexpensive. The ticket prices are fractional what the other theaters are charging, and it's a great night out or afternoon out if anyone has the opportunity.
Any other questions? Thank you for taking the time and all that you do for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
agenda item, Parks and Recreation, approval of interlocal agreement with the City of Royal Oak and the development of Normandy Oaks Park. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Quarles, Commissioner Long.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dan Stenzel, Executive Officer, Oakland County Parks and Recreation. To my left, Sue Wells, our Manager of Parks and Recreation Operations, and Jody Hall on my right, Corporation Counsel, and Jeff Phelps, Fiscal Services, our Budget Coordinator. The Oakland County Parks and Recreation Commission has a 5-year recreation master plan that guides the operations and investments of the park system. It identified a need for us to continue to explore and initiate efforts to increase recreational assets, park development, and acquisitions in southeast Oakland County, as well as increasing recreation program opportunities. On a regular basis, on our community needs surveys, the residents of Oakland County continue to tell us that providing trail opportunities and preserving natural areas is a high priority. Several years ago, Oakland County Parks and Recreation Commission was contacted by city officials and elected officials with the city to invite us to consider a collaboration resulting in a partnership to redevelop Normandy Oaks. And Normandy Oaks was a 50-acre, 9-hole golf course that the city officials went to a vote of the people to sell off 10 acres of the original golf course site for residential development, which is currently underway by Robertson Brothers. The sale generated about $3.8 million to redevelop the park, and it also created an opportunity to incorporate an existing city park called Elks Park on the east side of the property. The total cost of this project over a 3-year for the park system, or excuse me, $3 million for the project. They're looking to develop this park in one phase. The park system has identified just a little over $1 million to invest in this project, with not to exceed budget amounts over a 3-year period. The city is responsible for all the maintenance and repairs to all aspects of the park, and over the next 3 budget cycle, the park system in fiscal 2019 is going to invest not to exceed amount for about a 2-mile trail system. In fiscal 2020, nature area, which is about 10 acres of the site, where we're restoring a pre-settlement oak savanna with a water feature. And then finally, in fiscal 2021, the park system will invest about $200,000 for a pedestrian bridge about 130 feet long to create access from the parking lot that exists at Elks Park to the rest of the park site. On an annual basis, the Parks Commission staff will work with city officials and staff to develop a recreation program valued at about $10,000 to $20,000 a year, where we'll have special events and regular activities and possibly some nature programs at the site. The park system to guide the investments of county dollars in potential opportunities like this in the future, developed a recreation partnership policy that looks at the aspects of criteria for investments, as well as looking at a process to receive future inquiries about projects like this. One of the things that I would like to point out is that the park system is not flush with a bunch of additional dollars, and if there's opportunities in the future to expand and restore the commission's millage, that would be great for looking at a source of funding. But there's a lot of maintenance issues that the park system has deferred that also need to be addressed. So with that, any questions?
Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's over 500,000 for trails is it like 2 miles of trails? Is that
Correct.
kind of a, it seems like an awful lot of money for trails, but I know it's more complicated than it would seem at first, but still, maybe you could, and the city's gonna design and construct those, I believe, so.
That's correct.
Right,
Yeah.
so I guess how did you derive at that figure of 521,000?
That comes from their estimate of the cost for aggregate and paved trails throughout the site. And our involvement is not to exceed. So if there's cost overruns or if there's additional trails that are added, it would not be at our expense.
Would that be pretty typical, though, of costs for trails?
That's, yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner McGilvray.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, this has been a 3.5 to 4 year project trying to get this done. And I'm so happy to see it come to a conclusion and an agreement, hopefully. Just a couple things I wanted to say. Dan, you didn't mention that Royal Oak is putting in a splash pad in this park at one end. There'll be parking down near the splash pad. The other parking is in the Elks Park part that he mentioned, so that's why the bridge comes in. I think it's a great opportunity for our Parks Department to add a little bit more amenities to the south end of the county without purchasing a lot of property or building a lot of high-cost buildings. So it's a great way to partner with the local community to be able to do this. So I wholeheartedly support it. I think it'll be a great addition.
Any other questions? Well, I want a couple things. I want to thank Commissioner McGilvray for sitting at the table on this, and I want to thank the parks for being creative. I personally would love to see that new partnership policy, what's in it. And then I do want to refer everybody, there was an additional in our green copy, be it further resolved, that's part of it, that came out of the committee, Healthy Communities Committee. Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, let's call for a vote.
Middleton?
Yes, we're voting on what's on the green sheet.
The
then.
green
Yeah.
sheet.
Okay. Yes.
Quarles? Yes. McGillivray?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Colwell?
Yes.
Markham?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes. Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 3, Economic Development and Community Affairs, resolution approving the provisions of a brownfield plan for the 140 South Saginaw City of Pontiac project. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Powell, Miller supporting.
Good morning. Dan Hunter and Brad Hanson with Economic Development and Community Affairs. Brownfield project before you seeks to return a property to the tax rolls that has been dormant for probably about 10 years. office building right inside the Woodward Loop in downtown Pontiac, just east of the Amtrak train station. And also will be a nice job component with that. So these are, there's no dollars, tax dollars really being paid on the property right now. And with the development, this will be a very positive contributor for downtown Pontiac. To go over some of the numbers, Brad, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning. This parcel itself is 1.3 acres. It's currently in transition from Mr. Meisner in the treasurer's office to the development team, so it does have a zero tax base now. Historically, dating back to the mid-1920s, was a gas station, going all up to 1950s, so gas station / service station. So that's where you get, there's some petroleum and heavy metals in the ground, so that classified as a facility or a contaminated site. But it also meets the other definitions of brownfield. It's functionally obsolete and it's also blighted. So it fits all three categories of the brownfield program. As Dan mentioned, it's 7-story, 145,000 square feet, roughly 400 jobs they're estimating to be brought into the building once it's fully completed. They're looking at office. They're also looking at a component for maybe a coffee shop or something on the first floor to serve the office building and the community as a whole. The investment is roughly $16 million once everything is completed. The projected tax value after, mind you, it's $0 today basically, is $245,000 once the project is completed. The developer will be looking for $3,064,000 in reimbursable costs. Basically, that's through TIF financing, so they'll pay for the money up front to clean up the property and get it up to proper codes, and then they'll be reimbursed over a number of 18 years in the brownfield plan. With that, like I said, it's 18 years for the completion of the brownfield plan that we are estimating at this point, depending on how, if it comes in under, the brownfield plan basically caps the amount of dollars can be captured, but if it comes in under, we pay that amount, we pay whatever the invoices are approved for the eligible activities. With that, I believe, in some of the eligible activities include a vapor barrier for the building, lead and asbestos abatement, and then interior demolition. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Middleton?
Yeah, and it's not directly with brownfield, but where's the parking for that facility?
The parking for the facility is really in the Phoenix Center.
Okay.
There's a little bit surface parking, but primarily it's in the Phoenix Center.
Okay.
I don't know if,
Okay, it's
Okay,
close,
you
yeah.
want to come up? Our treasurer, Andy Meisner, can speak more about this property. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that in the events where we're not able to prevent the foreclosure, it's our responsibility to try to find new homes for these properties. And this has been one that we've been working on a long time. We've really been looking, and Joe Robinson in my office, to find development partners that have the capacity to put real money into redeveloping this project. As was described, it's been blighted and not on the tax rolls, as Dan said. And so when we came across this development team and they shared the plan, we were really excited. I want to thank Jody Hall with Corporation Counsel, who has put endless hours into these negotiations. And I just wanted to mention real quickly that we did insist on a development agreement with the developers to make sure that the development kind of reflected our values in terms of trying to promote local sourcing, local hiring, and making sure that it has as positive of an economic impact, not only on our county seat of Pontiac, but on our whole county. And we are in the process of working with the city I think we're going to maybe partner on the development agreement, but we've been working with them, and so approval of this will be a major step for us forward. And so we see the finish line in sight, and the thought of this property being repurposed, I think, would be a big win for everybody.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, yes, Commissioner Powell.
I just wanted to say thank you, especially with, everybody knows the situation in Pontiac, and a lot of our spacing on the word, but these type of developments. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you all. And I hope that we can pass this today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, call the roll, please.
Quarles?
Yes.
McGillivray?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Markham?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes.
Zapp?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 4, Department of Information Technology, Universal Communications and Collaboration Program, Phase 2 Voice over IP Phone System Project. Do I have a motion? Kowal with Miller second.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Tim, Director of Information Technology. Also with me is Carl Wilson, who's the manager of our Technical Systems Network and Infrastructure Group. His team will be leading this project. Just wanted to give you a brief amount of background on it. We met with the Economic Growth and Infrastructure Committee yesterday and reviewed this project, and thank you for having us come to the Finance Committee this morning. We have currently in our project portfolio a project that we brought in a year and a half ago that is upgrades to our infrastructure from a telecommunications, voice telephone, and wireless infrastructure. It's a 3-phase project. Last year we brought in the first phase, which is the network, the hardware network piece that supports our cities, villages, and townships, particularly police departments. So we've updating that hardware network as well as the facilities on campus here. That part is ongoing. It'll take another year plus to complete that. We've finished the pilots, and we are finishing up the final schedule for the implementation of that. About 200 switches, telecommunications devices that we'll be installing. That was a $5.5 million request that we came in for last year. The overall program is about $10.6 million. So today we are coming to request another portion of that project, which is voice over IP telephone, and that's about a $3.6 million request in part of that total $10.5 million project. So one little piece of history, the current phone system at the county, we own and operate, we purchased 19 years ago a device called an SL100, which is a very large phone switch that allows us to manage telephony as it comes into the county and distribute it to all of the 4,000 employees on the county property. That device has, as 19-year-old device, is very old. It's very difficult to find parts for. It's also very difficult to find people that are qualified to even service that device anymore. We have had some equipment failures in the last year, and that's part of why this project has been on the books, is to replace that. We have been budgeting for this project over several years. It's been in the fiscal plans and the budget over the last several budget cycles. We do have assigned fund balance to fund this project, and I think I said that word right. Thank you, Lynn. She coached me yesterday.
You did.
So we also have funding in one of the accounts in IT called the telephone fund. There's $2 million that we have been saving in that fund to help fund this voice over IP project, as well as $1.6 million out of the general fund. So with that, if Carl, are there any additional items that we need to add?
No, I just would like to add that one of the benefits of going from the older technology to newer technology, it will certainly enhance what we can do. I mean, we are replacing a system that has desk telephones and voicemail, and replacing it with a system that does so much more. It will open up avenues of mobility where you will be able to use your county number in any location you would like to use that at. It opens up collaboration opportunities that we will have with our constituents, with our CVTs, and give us a lot more benefits. So this is not just replacing the technology with what we say is a like for like. This is opening up a whole new avenue of collaboration and opportunity, a whole new set of technologies that will allow the county to collaborate more effectively and work more efficiently as we go into the future.
Thank you. With that, do I have any questions? Commissioner McGilvray.
Yeah, Mr. Tim, what would you say is the lifespan of this new equipment that we're putting in?
One of the great parts about the selection process, we went through the normal RFP process. In fact, it took us over a year to do that. And in our selection, we've actually selected a vendor to provide this as a service. So part of that contract will be that they will keep the technology evergreen. So they will refresh the servers. This will be up in the cloud. And in the cloud, it will have diverse data centers. One in Columbus, Ohio, and the other, where's the
It's
second?
Cincinnati, Ohio, and Virginia.
And Virginia. So that provides some of the diversity in terms of outages and uptime. But as far as the equipment itself, it'll be refreshed. The handsets obviously will have a life, but that's probably in the 7 to 8, 9 year kind of time frame for an actual desk handset. Some of the ones that we have today are much older than that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kowal.
Just a quick comment. I think that anytime you can keep any kind of technology going in this day and age for 19 years, it's pretty commendable. I realize that it's time to move on. There's so many pluses to going with this new technology, but yeah, 19 years is I think it's good. I think we need to move on.
That's way beyond end of life.
We have extracted the value out of the system, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's call the roll, please.
McGillivray?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Lum?
Yes.
Kowal?
Yes.
Markham?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes. Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Number 5, Human Resources Department fiscal years 2019, 2020, 2021, collective bargaining agreement for employees represented by the Command Officers Association. Moved by Long, seconded by Quarles.
Good morning. Before you is a labor contract for the Command Officers Association. This is a contract between the county, the sheriff's office, and the command officers. Approximately 117 employees within this bargaining unit. Behind your resolution is a summary of each item that we negotiated with the command officers. This is a 3-year contract for wages for fiscal year 2019, it's a 2% increase. For fiscal year 2020, it's a 2% increase with a Me Too. 2021, a 2% increase and a Me Too. For healthcare benefits, any changes that may take effect would be negotiated with this group. We did negotiate a change in their dental to increase it. The annual amount is going up to, okay, lost my page, $1,500, and the employee contribution will stay the same. We've added a command floating holiday. I'm just gonna kind of walk through it, each section. The call-out pay was added language. The sheriff department has a physical incentive program, and we've made an enhancement to that program. We've added new language in regards to the field training officer. Vision coverage, there's not a change to the overall vision coverage, but an eyeglass replacement. In the event that eyeglasses are broken in the line of duty, there is a way in which we can handle a replacement. The defined compensation has an increase that effective January 1, 2019, it will increase the employer match to $1,500. Sorry. Deferred compensation, sorry about that. January 1, 2020, it will increase to $2,000. January 1, 2021, it will increase to $2,500. Captain duty pay has increased January 1, 2019 and January 1, 2020. There's been an increase to clothing allowance. There has been a modification to the language regarding layoff, recall, and transfer, false arrest, promotion, adoption by reference, and general conditions, letter of interest. And shift leave exchange has new language that has been added. Authorization of dues deduction has updated language. The recognition clause has been updated, and the overtime language has been updated.
Do
If
I
I could
have-
add, the contract passed 88 yes to 22 no. In my math, I think that's 91% yes and 9% no, which is a very good indicator that they're very happy with this agreement.
Commissioner Middleton.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Is this the last labor contract we have?
Well, this is a carryover from last year,
Yeah,
so
the-
yes, this is a 3-year deal going forward. What we will be coming forward with this year will be wage reopeners for some of the,
The ones that we've already passed?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Miller.
I have a few questions. Turn my mic. I have a few questions, thank you. So I noticed in the contract that it only references Act 312 and the overtime under the DTE, the special overtime. I was wondering why is that? And I guess the Act 312, maybe if you want to give what it is, the definition of what it is, so everybody knows here, the new commissioners.
How does Act 312 and DTE, I'm not
Well, it's in the
following.
overtime. It's in the overtime language.
Uh-huh.
It's just, that's the only place I see Act 312 in this contract.
Well, Public Act 312 is an act that gives binding arbitration to police
Right.
officers and firefighters. I think it was in 1969, I think. Obviously, they have access to Public Act 312 if that's what they want to do. But in terms of, I'd have to see that.
If I could just take a second,
Yeah.
I know the provision you're referring to.
Okay.
In the overtime article, there was a complete redo of overtime, and we brought in a whole new system, as Undersheriff can tell you, called Kronos, to not only record time, to manage time, it's all computer entered, and it was a real complete rework. So both for the corrections officers, the deputies, and command, because we had reworked this whole provision, we wanted to see how everything was gonna work out in actual practice. And so we put a reopener in there in case either side was unhappy with how it was working. And this is really a non-economic item. But if either side is unhappy with how the overtime system and the Kronos system is working, you can give a 90-day notice. The contract on that provision and that provision only will reopen, and if they're Act 312 eligible, they will be entitled to Act 312 to resolve any difficulties. This was sort of being super cautious, if you will.
Could you please sit down so that you're at a mic? Thank you.
That was being super cautious, if you will. I don't think it's ever gonna happen. We've got a real good relationship with all three of the unions for corrections, for the deputies, and for command. We're meeting
And it's working really
regularly.
well. Kronos is a system that actually Children's Village had for quite some time. It basically has saved us hundreds upon thousands of hours in scheduling of overtime and taking time off and all that. So anytime, when we first implemented it with the deputies before the command, there were a couple bumps in the road, but we went in, made adjustments, and it's working really well.
And we've got almost 1,000 folks that are governed by this Kronos system. And if either side was unhappy, we had to have an escape and to get back to the bargaining table, and that's what we did in this one particular instance.
No, I appreciate that. I guess rephrase my question is, how come it's not in the body of the whole contract as a whole? And I think you mentioned
It is.
there's only some.
It is.
Some covered under it. Is that what I heard you say? Out of the 117.
The reopener for the overtime is in.
No. I mean in the contract as a whole. I didn't see Act 312 at all. Besides the overtime.
That's never in any of the labor contracts I have for Act 312.
Okay.
Don't refer to Act 312 if during the course of negotiations, and we've got some new commissioners here, I know, and you may not know what Act 312 is. Act 312 is obviously a state law that provides that if in the fire area, police area, and emergency medical, if it's attached to a police department area, if the union and the employer cannot reach an agreement on a labor contract, the state, in effect, appoints an arbitrator, and both sides present their case, and the arbitrator will decide what the labor contract is going to be. The wages, the health care, the pensions, everything. But we usually don't refer to that in the labor contract. That's a right either side has if they can't reach agreement.
No, I appreciate that. You did mention that if they're under the act. So do we have out of the 117 any employees that are not under Act 312, under this contract?
There's an issue which we decided not to get into at this time because we were able to resolve the contract as to whether a small number of this particular group are under Act 312. Of the other two groups, the corrections officers and the road deputies, corrections officers are not covered by Act 312, road deputies are.
Okay, is that have to, because I noticed there was I did a little research and there was an arbitration that was like withdrawn. Does that have to do with why some of them aren't?
The command union filed for Act 312 arbitration. We filed a motion to dismiss it as to some of the employees. We got together after they filed for 312 and we filed our motion and we resolved all issues. I think it was on December 20 and we signed off everything to the extent we could. They still had to ratify and we needed to come to you folks.
Right. There was also a Merck hearing too, correct?
No, there was never a Merck hearing. We got together immediately after we filed our motion to dismiss part of the Act 312 petition and resolved all our issues within a couple of weeks.
I just saw.
They may have scheduled a hearing, but it never occurred.
Okay, I saw a Merck hearing and a ruling decision on the internet last night, so that's why I asked.
Not that I'm aware of.
And then is there a reason why the other ones aren't covered under Act 312? You mentioned the correction officers.
Well, the corrections officers, that's the Oakland County Deputy Sheriff's Association. They represent a unit of corrections officers, not 312. They also represent a unit of road patrol deputies. They are 312. In command, they're a mixed unit of both folks that supervise the road and folks that supervise the corrections. It was our position that those that supervise corrections were probably not eligible, but we never got to that point where we had to fight it out. I will tell you, when we fought it out with the deputies union and had the determination that the corrections was not eligible for 312, that was a 2.5-year proceeding and cost a lot of bucks. So we avoided a pretty costly provision by coming to a labor contract agreement.
And maybe that's the Merck hearing that I saw on the internet was the one you're talking, took you 2 years?
That was 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Yeah, that occurred, that began in 2007 and ended in 2010.
Okay. It just blows my mind. I thought, my understanding is all public safety was under Act 312,
No,
which
not
would,
corrections.
which would, my personal, I feel it would benefit. I've represented people that were in the police departments and stuff.
So it's not, it's corrections are not, and dispatch and emergency medical are not unless they're attached and part of a police or sheriff's department.
Okay.
And our dispatchers are in the deputies union.
Yeah.
They are, okay.
Yeah, and they're eligible because they're part of the sheriff's department.
Okay. Well, then I guess my next question is, I heard you say there was 88 to 22 vote.
Yes, sir.
What were the major issues? Because my understanding there was one that was turned down. This is the second vote they had?
That is correct. They
Well,
initially turned down the offer, and then they had another vote and accepted the offer.
What were the major issues that that they were saying, why they
The
came back?
major issues was that the command officers wanted a greater wage increase, and they also wanted to add a percentage to the amount contributed by the employer to the defined contribution plan, not deferred comp, defined contribution plan. They wanted to move it from 10 to 11 and then 11 to 12.
Okay.
But after that vote, we then got together and we came to an agreement.
And we substituted the increases in deferred comp for, in effect, that's what we gave them and not the percentage.
Right. No, I understand that. Are these, is this contract under PA 54?
Well, that is parts of it maybe, parts of it may not be. These public safety have certain exemptions under Act 54, but
Okay.
certain parts don't apply to them.
Well, I mean, where it does with the healthcare, where they have to incur the whole cost of the premium if a contract's not settled. I was just wondering if that's under.
Yeah, I mean, if you turn this contract down,
every command officer that is under certain plans is going to have a deduction made from their pay to pay the increased cost of health care. And I do think for our ASR, which is our most popular plan, it'll be $75 a paycheck for each command officer that's in the ASR program.
Oh, I understand that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been on the table there, and that might have been the reason why the numbers changed for the second vote for the 88, because that is in effect too, right? So that could have been a deciding vote as well.
That could have been a factor, and I think our motion was a factor.
Oh,
Big
definitely,
factor.
definitely. And what was the issue? You said this negotiation, you guys settled the 312 issue that was at the table?
Well, everything was going to go to 312. They had about 15 issues. They were all going to go to 312.
22, but who's counting?
Yeah, 22, sorry. But we settled them.
Right. 22 issues or 22?
Ultimately, there were 22 issues that we came to agreement on.
Oh, okay.
I'd point out, there was not one takeaway from the bargaining unit. We didn't take, you're a negotiator, you know.
Right.
The other side comes, we're gonna take this away, we want this back, we want this back. We did not do that, we never did it during negotiations. And I've been on both sides of the table. I was vice president of the deputies union for 6 years, I was vice president of the command for a year, president of the command for a year, so, I've been on both sides. And it actually was very helpful in the process.
And I'll be blunt, we settled with the Oakland County Deputy Sheriff's Association, the road unit and the corrections unit for 2, 2, and 2, and the increases in deferred comp, no increases to the percentage for defined contribution, and we weren't gonna give the command officers any more than what we gave the other sheriff's units.
Oh, I mean, whatever you do
And
at the table.
that's a concept I think you're
totally
probably pretty familiar
Totally
with.
understand what you're saying. So, is there any, I'm just like reading the contract, I just got it just last week, or, right before the weekend, so I was reading through it, because this is what actually gets me excited is contracts. Kind of boring, right, but, with, I guess when you're doing it 6.5 years, right, you're looking for the quality of life for everybody to bring that up, and their families. Just, has it created any, like, distension in the units because the 312 issue? Like, some have it, some don't? I've just noticed this in my history.
Well, we decided that, working with Jim Tiganelli at Command Officers, that we were better off postponing the issue, and, maybe it'll never come up again. But the Michigan Employment Relations Commission historically has not allowed mixed units of both 312 eligible and non-312 eligible folks. They changed that ruling in 2016, so they do allow them to continue to be together. When a petition is filed, then you file what I did, a motion to have certain people disqualified if you're correct on your motion. And so these folks can stay together in the same bargaining unit.
Oh, yeah, I understand the bargaining unit part. I just feel like they both deserve.
Well, Commissioner, that's, the state legislature has to address that, and there has been bills introduced in the past couple of sessions to include corrections, and they have not passed.
So I don't know, I'm just learning the public safety side of it.
Sure.
So is that something that, like a county, state, or a city, I should say, or village could do their own, where they could say, well, we'll let you use 312, or is that just state laws that you can't go over that? You got like kind of like, I guess, in my world, OSHA and MyOSHA, right?
There are a couple of instances in this state where they've done it contractually.
Okay, so it is allowed.
As far as I know, it's allowed, but I'm only aware of 2 in the entire state.
Okay. Then my last question I believe I have here is, and this is something you will probably understand, is who sets the parameters for negotiations on our side?
As far as the economics are concerned,
Yeah, like where you're at.
administration does. As far as operations are concerned, Sheriff Bouchard and then Sheriff McCabe. So we're sort of two-pronged there, and
Right.
we work it out pretty well between ourselves as to who's going to be the final decider on the issues.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I believe that's all the questions I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Commissioner McGilvray, you could follow that one.
Sorry.
That's what we're here for.
I just heard that if a deputy who retires and then starts as a part-time employee, that we pay the penalty to IRS? Is that part of this agreement?
That has nothing to do with this agreement whatsoever. The unions do not represent retirees.
Okay.
The part-timers, when the full-timers retire and they become separated, they become part-time non-eligible, they're no longer union members. They're part-time non-eligible employees.
Okay, thank you.
Separate issue.
Any other questions?
I just have one more, I apologize. I was just wondering, great arbitrators we have in the contract, I've dealt with all four of them. Why do we have four named? That's what I was just wondering, instead of using like AAA or the FMCS.
Historically, we were going back, and I've been around as County Labor Council since November, believe it or not, 1979. So that's when I started out here. We did use AAA for a number of years. In the 90s, we decided it would be a lot easier because we were getting arbitrators neither side wanted on lists. It was taking a long time to go through the list, that we would agree upon a list of arbitrators that everybody was comfortable with, and we'd stick with them.
Is this changed like per contract, or is it just in there and unless something changes?
Well, if somebody dies, we
yeah.
take them out and
Right.
we come to an agreement on, or somebody
Okay.
retires, I shouldn't say.
Right.
Some have died. But we come to an agreement with the unions as to the names on the list.
Well, I tell you, George.
It's the same thing.
George Morel's gonna be around here longer than all of us.
We've had him many times.
So I appreciate that, thank you.
Any other questions? Not, please call the roll.
Howell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Finally, we have a presentation from the Treasurer's Office.
Okay, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you this morning. What a pleasure it is to see your faces. So nice.
That isn't what you said in the hallway.
Yeah. We have a PowerPoint that we were going to go through, and please feel free to interrupt me. But we tried to be responsive to the request to try to address each of the issues that you asked to hear about. And so I'm going to get going. Clicking, so hopefully you're not traumatized too bad by the picture on the left, but you'll recognize my chief deputy is here with me, Jody Weissler Defoe, and then you get a little bit of a look at our team on the next page. The core functions of the Treasurer's Office are as follows. I serve as the banker to the county. And so, all the money coming in comes in through our office. All the money that goes out, including payroll, comes out of our office very regularly and without hiccup. And then the surplus funds that we have, I am the chief investment officer for the county, responsible for investing those dollars in accordance with the state law called Public Act 20. And the short version, sorry, is that these are not risky investments. It's not like on the pension board we get into stocks and bonds and other areas. This is more like CDs.
Those details are coming up.
They're coming up.
We'll get
Okay,
to the
thank you.
details.
We also collect real and personal property taxes that are delinquent in partnership with each of our local communities. They collect the locals collect right now the current year property tax, and then we pick it up after it becomes delinquent, serving as what they call the foreclosing governmental unit. The annual property tax deadline is March 31st, which I think falls on a Saturday?
It's Sunday.
Sunday
Yep.
this year. In this circumstance, April 1st will be the deadline. And so you might have seen people, if you came through our office, We're in the process of meeting with them and doing taxpayer assistance meetings to try to figure out if we can get them connected with Step Forward to get their taxes paid, or if we can get them on a payment plan. I think we've done, how many payment plans have we had? 24?
24,000.
So 24,000 payment plans that we've done over the last many years, and it's just a simple way to help people overcome their challenges while also collecting the revenue that we need to provide the service that we do as a county. We are the steward of unsold tax foreclosed property. The previous conversation about the 140 South Saginaw is an example of that. We get a building if it doesn't sell at auction, or a vacant lot, or an apartment building, and then we're tasked with trying to get it back on the tax rolls. And if it's blighted, to get that property renovated in a way that is going to enhance property values. And so, next page. One of the elements that I added is something that we call the Financial Empowerment Center. The Financial Empowerment Center was made available through a grant. It's based on a model that Mayor Bloomberg developed in New York City in 2006 called the Super Vitamin Model. And the idea is that we have all these people that are coming through our office, and so instead of just collecting their taxes and having them move on, we take it as an opportunity to triage and to talk with them one-on-one about some of the challenges that they might be facing. Maybe they lost a job, maybe they're underemployed, maybe they're facing a medical issue, but we work with them, and the whole concept is that we co-locate as many different wraparound services as we can right at this location. So right here, while they're coming to meet with us, we also can team them up with our nonprofit counselors that can provide housing counseling, financial counseling, as well as assistance with even starting their own business. We have an entrepreneurial boot camp for finances that we do through a partnership with JVS and one of our new deputies. And so this is a big deal for us. And we want those people to leave our office to be financially stable, to have a game plan for managing their finances. We help them with credit score or credit repair, and so credit counseling that they can get. And there are some folks out there that do it for profit. And so we try to really encourage people to work with our folks that are not going to take advantage of them. We do a financial literacy art contest. If you walk through the treasurer's hallway, you'll see all these pictures up on the wall. We're in our 8th year of that contest. It's for every high school student in Oakland County. I would encourage you to please check and see if your local high schools are participating. Ross Gavin with my team quarterbacks that for us. And not only have we gifted $70,000 in scholarships so far, but those the artwork goes up on the walls, so everybody that comes to the treasurer's office sees that and sees the financial literacy themes. And so it's trying to stimulate a broader conversation about financial literacy, which I think is important. And you know, if you want to change the culture, you kind of start with the kids. Growing Pontiac is another initiative that we started out of our office that's spearheaded by Jill Robinson in my office. But we have built a coalition of organizations to help convert vacant lots into community gardens and to try to strengthen the local food system, creating access to fresh fruits, vegetables, and just engaging a lot of different folks around our county seat that we think is very important to the future of Oakland County. We kind of big picture, we're in a strong cash position. We have strong liquidity. Our investments are well diversified thanks to Natalie Neff, who's my investment administrator, and our collections are very strong. The payment plans, I think, are not only the moral thing to do to help people have a chance to overcome their challenges, but do you know that of all the payment plans that we do, we get about a 90% compliance rate with the payment plans. which I think is kind of a statement about people, that if you work with them and give them a chance to partner, that they want to do the right thing, and that's reflected in our bottom line. This is just a graph showing the cash position,
From last fiscal year.
from last fiscal year. So the actual is in red, and the blue is the projected. And so part of the reason that I point that out is that when our friends at the rating agencies look at us and figure out what kind of rating they want to assign to us, everyone's heard a lot about the AAA bond rating. One of the things that they're starting to look at over these last number of years is how accurate our projections are relative to actual. And so if our projections are within 5% of if the actual is within 5% of projections, you're assigned a certain score. But if that variation is too big, it's a red flag for them and something that is a problem.
The other thing I would just mention, Andy,
Please.
the other, this isn't just county funds, this also includes the local government investment pool. So all of our locals that utilize us for their investment services are included in these
Do we
numbers.
have a slide on the LGIP?
We don't, no.
Okay, so
Speak to it.
real quickly, Jody mentioned the LGIP, which is an acronym for the Local Government Investment Pool. And this is not something I came up with, it was in place before I got here. But the idea is that our local communities don't necessarily have a full-time person to manage their investments. Like we've got, somebody to track the CD rates, what treasuries are doing, what's going on in commercial paper on a day-to-day basis. And so we provide the opportunity for local governments to invest their money with us. And through that, we achieve an economy of scale. So we're able to get them a greater return than they would have on their own money. While also, while not requiring them to have as much infrastructure in this place. When I came on board, we had 13 communities in the local government investment pool. But because of the value that it provides for local, Natalie and I went on a road show and toured all the city councils and township meetings. And we are now close to 46?
Yeah, like
46.
closer to 40, yeah.
It's 40.
40, yeah, it's a little over 40, 42 maybe.
No,
Yeah.
it's I think it's closer to 46, but that includes the West Bloomfield Fire Authority and a couple of library
authorities,
boards.
yeah.
So I think of the 44, 45, a couple of those are not technically municipalities. But it's a big deal. And it's real money in the pockets of locals, and with cuts in revenue sharing and everything, and the whole Headley Proposal A interplay, every dollar matters for the locals, and so we're real excited to be able to provide that sort of opportunity. This is a look at our investments, the operating investment portfolio. So this is as of April 30th.
And these are the specific where Andy was mentioning, there's, very small finite items that we can actually invest in, very safe investment tools, and these are the different lists of them: commercial paper, certificates of deposit, treasury notes, those kind of things.
Yep, and the next slide is just a pie chart reflecting kind of where our money is in. And, this has kind of ebbed and flowed over the years. When I came in as treasurer and the banks were failing, we got out of CDs because we didn't know which bank was going to go under. And so we got into more federal agency bonds that pay a good return and have the full faith and credit of the federal government. Now, as the financial sector has stabilized and is actually getting quite a bit more competitive with the increasing rate environment, you'll see 46% in CDs. And we try to get those to institutions across Oakland County, especially, when I came on board, I changed the investment policy to include credit unions. And so if there's any institutions that you're aware of in your communities that we don't know about, please connect us with them, because we'd like to support them with our deposits, and then they turn around and put that money back out into our neighborhoods with car loans, mortgages, and small business loans. The next slide shows, this is the yield comparisons, and so.
This is basically what you just mentioned, that short-term
Right.
rates have jumped up very quickly.
Yeah, so the top number is, or the top line is our performance. And just real quickly, and you know, the former legislators will remember, but the Public Act 20 guideline and our investment policy guideline here in Oakland County focuses on safety first, then being able to meet liquidity needs, and then only after we've satisfied those two concerns can we even look at yield. So, you know, we're not like trying to achieve a bogey like on the pension where we've got to get 7.5% return in order to be able to pay, or 7.25% or wherever we take it. So the top line is what we do, and then the bottom line is our benchmark. And in the investment world, you know, that's kind of the tool that you use to kind of judge yourself against something. And so we're benchmarked against the 30-day T-bill, and so that just kind of reflects the difference. As treasurer, I serve as treasurer on the retirement board and on the investment subcommittee for the retirement board, and have for the last 10 years. This is a little bit of with a number of folks, new and old. This is a look at our current retirement system funding, which, as you can see, is just a little bit north of $2 billion.
And I think also, like you said, the retirement system can invest in a little bit riskier.
Yeah, so that's
items.
Public Act 314. And in contrast with Public Act 20, Public Act 314 allows far more aggressive investment options. So stocks, bonds, mutual funds. And then you'll also see that the retirement fund has also done some alternative investments and has built out like our real estate holdings to 10% of our overall. And so, you know, the retirement board tries to just kind of manage in partnership with these consultants or whatever, and we are, you know, well over 100% funded, which I think is something that everyone here at the county can be really proud of, particularly as so many communities are struggling to even achieve the 60% threshold that was set in state law. But so that's, I think that's a big deal. And of course, you know, we bonded for our retiree health care obligation many years ago, which was a very forward-looking thing to do. Again, that one happened before I got here, so I'm not claiming credit. But we did do a refinancing in 2014 of that debt to take advantage of the interest rates, and we saved about 180, was it 180? 171 million, thank you then. So next slide.
Yep.
Please.
Again, the goal just on this, just a variety. We hold a lot of different county debt, so this is just to kind of give you a layout of that. But most importantly, this 10% is a state law that we can't borrow more than 10% of our SEV. Generally, I don't think many counties have a problem with this, but I think more municipalities bump right up against that. So that was really the point of this.
Yeah, and I'm designated as the chief debt officer for the county in my role as treasurer. And so we kind of sign off on all these, including a number of the bond issuance that happen in partnership with the locals. You know, where there's a nexus with the county, the local can bond using the county's bond rating and can achieve savings. And so there's been a number of projects around the county where that's happened, and it does generate real savings. You know, people hear that credit rating business, and I mean, what it boils down to is that as people, we have credit scores, you know, and the credit rating is just kind of the credit score for a government or a municipal entity. And we achieve that through partnership, and I think it is really something to be excited about. I talked a little bit, so I'm going to just kind of tick through this real quickly, but we had, you know, 97.1 million in collections going back to 2012. I guess 23,300 monthly payment plans. And these are all negotiated in one-on-one meetings. You know, some of the other counties will do kind of like a group call at, I think they do it at Cobo or something.
Yeah.
But we just really think that if somebody is having delinquent taxes, then they're in a state of crisis. And a lot of times they're scared. and they're scared to open their mail. And so that was why I created these taxpayer assistance meetings to be an informal setting where we could just sit down as people and talk about what the challenges are. And I just think that that's the right way to do it. And so I'm proud of our team because of the tone that they bring to those conversations. And it's not big government, it's just the smiling, goofy-looking guy across the table.
I mean, half the time we bring these people back and we just say, take a deep breath. We're gonna help you. I know that sounds funny, but just take a deep breath. We're gonna get through this. And then we just, you know, kind of start asking questions and go back and forth. But it's really, I mean, it's surreal. I mean, I can't tell you how many people sit down with you and just start crying. And you're like, okay, here's some Kleenex, but it's gonna be fine. We'll be okay. We're gonna get there. So it's powerful.
It is. I mean, it's real living. It is real life stuff. I mentioned the automatic withdrawal. You know, we do have a lot of folks that will put on like an auto withdrawal, and that's a way to kind of smooth out the collections, which has been very helpful. And then, listen, this Step Forward program, I would beg of you that all of you be getting the word out to your local communities about Step Forward Michigan. This program, I've never heard of a program like this. I mean, years in government, but they will give $30,000 to your constituents that are facing delinquencies or mortgage deficiencies. You know, so let's say that there's, you know, grandma has got, you know, she owes her mortgage company $15,000, and she owes the county treasurer $10,000. If she owns her home, is the title owner of the property, has experienced a hardship, and is not sitting on like $1 million cash, then she can qualify for Step Forward. And in that circumstance, the mortgage company gets paid out first, and then the remainder goes towards the taxes. But this number is a little bit low. I think it's north of $11 million actually that has come in through Step Forward. That's in Oakland County, right? That's in our county, the folks that have already gotten that.
You forgot the most important part. It doesn't have to be paid back.
Right.
This is free money to these homeowners.
Right, it's a forgivable loan.
Yes.
So the way it's structured is this, is that for every year that they stay in the house, so like if they turn it into a rental, they have to pay it back. If they sell the house, they have to pay it back. But for every year that they stay in the house, 20% of the amount of the loan is forgiven. And so in 5 years, if they stay there 5 years, then they don't owe anything. And so it's extraordinary. It's actually TARP funds that Michigan got back in 2010. It was $498 million, and this was one of the ways that Michigan determined to use the money. And we have been crazy, I would say, about getting the word out. And the application process is complicated, and so we urge our folks to work with one of our counselors on the application. The online application is 23 different pages that you have to click through, and we created a cheat sheet with kind of pop-ups in like plain English to say like, what are you looking for? Like they ask for an account number, but if somebody's already paid off their mortgage, they don't have an account number. They only have a parcel identification number. So anything that the fourth grader would get tripped up on, in big red letters, we kind of break it down.
Just a history.
This is just a look at collections. But if you look at slide 15.
Hold on, go back. Just one quick thing on 14.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yep.
So slide 14. The item that Jody was pointing out was in the far right column. The percent collected. That's the percent that gets collected by the local government. So what that means is that for 17, 97% of the people in Oakland County paid their taxes on time. And all this effort that we focus on is for 3% of the folks that are experiencing difficulties. And that collection rate, if you look, is going in the right direction, right? If you look at 2004, it was down around 95%, and now we're north of 97%. Also reflecting the positive trends that we've seen over the number of years on slide 15 is if you look at the look at the 2009 levy year.
So these are actually the delinquencies. So this is what's turned over from the local government to the county treasurer to collect on their behalf. And this is what's paid out of the delinquent tax revolving fund to those locals to keep their cash flow in balance.
So the peak during the worst of the recession was $155 million in delinquencies. And then you can, fast forward to 2017, it pops down to 63 million, which is really positive. So we're at a 10-year low, and we're excited about that. But we have to be vigilant, and we have to learn the lessons of the last recession, that we too can be affected by this. And so we should be really focused on, I think, micro trends. And, frankly, some of the debt with the car debt that's out there is a real issue. It might not be a mortgage crisis this time. It could be a consumer debt crisis. Strong collection, it's a 3-year process that we go through to collect the delinquent taxes that starts in March 1st. 17, I would just, if you look at the right column and go back down to 2012 with the 2009 in parentheses, so right over there, and then you go all the way across, you see that 1,650. That was the peak number of tax foreclosures that we had, and now, for this last year, it was down below 300. And so we're seeing great numbers in this, but our philosophy is that one tax foreclosure is too many, and so we would like to prevent all these. This is just a look at kind of mortgage foreclosures.
This is a slide from equalization. You've probably seen it from them as well, but we usually keep it in our presentation as well. Just again shows the trend of declining mortgage foreclosures.
And the next one shows like the tax tribunal docket. And so during the crisis, a lot more people were challenging their assessments, which put a lot of tax revenue on the table and kind of out of use. Jody talked about the delinquent tax revolving fund. This is a revolving fund that was created many years ago to help make sure that, if Farmington, for instance, says, hey, Meisner, we have $1 million in delinquencies that we're turning over to you, we write Farmington a check for that money so that they can meet their cash flow demands, and then we take over collection. And the delinquent tax revolving fund is the method that we use to administer that. And I would be remiss in saying that the corpus in the delinquent tax revolving fund is a key factor in supporting our AAA bond rating. They're looking for cushion, and it provides a bit of that.
And I would say that's also one of the budgets that you'll see. We have a few different budgets in the treasurer's office.
Is it enterprise?
Yeah, the DTRF
It's an enterprise
budget is one you will see that'll come before you during budget season.
And it's something that the rating agencies always want to talk about, and they want to know our ability to pay our debt service. We generally issue notes each year. By issuing the notes, we're able to achieve lower cost for the locals in terms of borrowing.
So we'll probably come before you in the next month or so with that resolution to borrow on DTANs.
Yeah. And then you'll see the slide 21 shows DTRF and its net position through the years, including some projections out to 2024, thanks to Lisa Johnson in our office and friends at Fiscal that are part of that process. DTRF. So let me just shift gears real quick to, you asked about some goals and objectives for us. So short-term goals, and this is one I beg of you, get to your city councils right now because the April 1st is the deadline. And so I desperately need your help getting the word out about this April 1st deadline. People show up with the money on April 2nd. The state law does not allow me to take that money. So right now is where we need to be doing full court press to beat that deadline, and I'm beginning the process of reaching out to all the principal residences that we haven't had contact with. Of course, yeah.
I just wanted you to not forget that payment plan date, because I've been stressing it in comments, so let us know the deadline for the payment plan.
We're trying to get the payments done March 15th.
March 15th, yeah.
We're trying to get the payment plans done by March 15th.
Your office post March 13th.
Oh,
Or did y'all change
I think
the
it's been changed. It should be the 15th.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just making sure, 'cause I
Corporation
know-
Council allowed us 2 more days.
Okay, good, okay, so
Yeah.
just letting everybody know, so they know that
Yeah.
date to come back.
Yeah, if they need a payment plan, we need to see them by March 15th. If they're gonna pay in full, they have until April 1st for full redemption.
Thank you.
partnering, connecting residents with the Financial Empowerment Center, long-term goal, continuing the downward trends of foreclosure, and also enhancing our partnership with the local CVTs. One example of that is in Michigan, we have kind of a strange bifurcated system where the local government collects the current year property taxes, and then the county treasurer collects the delinquent. In order for us to collect the delinquent, we have to have the same data that the locals have, and we already have, the county already provides a bulk of the workflow for these locals in the collection of local taxes. So like they use the county mail house to mail out their current year property tax bills.
IT provides a lot of services.
IT provides services, and the mail house. And so we got the state law changed a number of years ago, 2014. House Bill 5160 explicitly authorizes county treasurers to partner with local governments to pick up collection of current year taxes. In the realm of consolidation of services, this is, I think, low-hanging fruit, and we are having conversations with locals who we might be able to save one full-time employee or a part-time, and thanks to technology, we can do it by, we can still put kiosks in the city hall so people can still pay there and use some mobile options. Challenges, changing landscape of the Property Tax Act. People don't like paying their taxes. They file a lot of lawsuits about them, and sometimes they go after the state law. There are a number of lawsuits pending right now, as well as statutory changes that are being considered to PA 123. Those could create cash flow issues for us, but we're minding them carefully. And then just the short-term interest rate changing quickly. We're in a kind of a volatile rate environment. For a long time, the rates were just really flat, and it was real easy to kind of figure things out. Now we're kind of trying to look in the crystal ball a little bit. And then I referenced just the looming prospect of a downturn. We're seeing some softening in the real estate market, time on the market going a little bit longer. I think Dave Heber said that the number of building permits in the last year was down 17% or something, is what I think Dave told me. Pending issues, we have been in the process of updating our software, which is an old proprietary system. We went out to market, and we're able to find a program way less expensive. And so we're in the process, in partnership with our friends at IT, and getting that implemented. We've been looking at like flexible work hours. We've got some 410s. Some of our folks don't qualify because of the nature of the work. And then again, just this legal framework of the tax foreclosure process is evolving. I think you asked about data and reports availability. Our surplus property is online and available to anybody that wants to apply. The retirement report.
It's bigger than that. It's better than that. We used to try to sell this property off a spreadsheet. We're teaming with the GIS team at IT. We have developed an online map that is going to stay actively updated, and the whole process is actually now online and through our website, so it can all be kind of managed paperless. So that was a big transition that we spent.
And we don't mean to harp on that, but if I sell that property to the wrong person that doesn't pay the taxes on it and doesn't fix it up, then what I've done is I've perpetuated the cycle of delinquency. So some treasurers will say, hey, we're excited we sold this. And we look at that as one performance measure. But for me, as kind of big picture, the biggest performance measure is, what does that property look like 3 years from now? What does it look like 5 years from now? Did we make the right decision about who to connect that with? And there are a lot of people that want to take advantage of real estate speculation in Oakland County, and we have a great brand, and so a lot of what we do is to try to minimize that. Budget requests. When I came into the county, I proposed a land bank. I was chairman of the board of the Michigan Land Bank for 3 years. We administered a $220 million grant across the state of Michigan that created hundreds of jobs, created incredible investments. If you go to Lafayette Market in downtown Pontiac or visit their 46 lofts, that was one of the projects that was used. I think there was a little bit of political kind of tenor that came to it, but objectively, the land bank is one of many tools that is available to assist us with repurposing tax foreclosed property. It's no more and it's no less. Our need for it is as pressing now as it was then. Frankly, if we had done it then, I think we would have protected our property values a bit more, but that's neither here nor there. Community payment options or kiosks. We want to stay current with available technology while ensuring that we are protected from cyber attack, but we are exploring a number of ways of achieving ease of use for taxpayers utilizing technology. We are also in the process of building out an emergency fund similar to Department of Human Services to assist people once the Step Forward money is all gone. We're modernizing the layout of the office or whatever.
Can we go back to this bottom issue? That's just
Yeah,
something I want to talk about.
Yeah, please.
So I think the last time I was
We'll
before the
defer,
board, we asked for approval of a resolution that defers for 2 months the interest and fees for seniors and veterans and a few other defined in state law. We bring that to the board every year. Nothing in the state law says we need to do that every year, so it's just, again, for efficiency, I don't know if there's a benefit that the board would be willing to like adopt that in perpetuity. So it's again, something you asked us what we might want from you, that would
It's
just,
not like
it's not a big deal, but
it's not
just.
it's not a burden or
No.
anything, but just it's a
It's
streamlining
one thing,
opportunity, right?
Exactly.
Legislatively, I talked a little bit about some of the bills that are out there. I am the legislative co-chair for the State Treasurers Association, and so we try to stay engaged on those legislative matters and trying to make sure that the Property Tax Act is workable. I would just reference that we had some kind of high-profile scam artists that were taking advantage of families in Oakland County who had lost relatives, being taken advantage of by folks within the probate system. We were able to get the state law changed to give heirs more power and greater protections from these companies that were coming in and literally stealing grandma's house from out beneath them. That was pretty quick. We got it all done within a year. And we appreciated the partnership of our county clerk in getting that done, and appreciate the committee's time, and happy to entertain any other questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, and,
Commissioner Middleton.
okay, thank you. Andy, our tax system says that we collect taxes in the summer tax collection, which is the assessment is, or the bill is sent out July 1st. There's really no incentive to pay that bill until September 15th. And then our fiscal year ends 15 days later. How do we cover county expenses for 11 and a half months?
I think we budget for it, right?
We don't have enough cash flow to be able to cover for that, but we're watching that carefully to see if we might have to do short-term borrowings to make sure that we can meet cash flow needs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have Commissioner Quarles, then Commissioner Kowal.
You mentioned, and you have mentioned before, Step Forward. Other than getting the information from your office, is there somewhere else I can tell my constituents where to find it?
Yeah, I mean, they can go to the website for Step Forward, and a lot of the housing counseling agencies have got the cheat sheet that we did and offer assistance. Our friends at Community and Home Improvement also offer counseling and do a great job of that and help with Step Forward referrals. But Commissioner, we have an active line of communication with the Step Forward folks, and so we harass them, and we'll call them and say, hey, where's this person? And so we try to manage it a little bit to make sure that Oakland County gets our fair share.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the, your presentation. Can we get copies of that?
Sure.
Okay. First, I guess I have one comment and then one question. The one when you mentioned that we bonded out to fund our retiree health care, We tried real hard to do that, but at the end of the day, the legislation was pocket vetoed by the governor. So at first we did go to, I think, certificates of deposit. But
Certificates of participation.
Participation,
Yeah.
I knew it was some kind of certificate. Anyway, I'm glad that we were able to move in the direction we wanted to all along, get that funded. The other thing, I guess, is that, Oakland County made the Wall Street Journal recently, and not in a good way, because of the, probably the state law, the way it exists right now, that if a property goes up for tax foreclosure, however little amount is owed on the taxes, the property owner doesn't get anything in excess of that taxes that results as a sale. So I take it 4219 is to correct that?
Well, there are a couple issues there, but that the column that you're talking about that was written by the Pacific Legal Foundation, they were taking issue with the tax foreclosure that happened in Oakland County. And you're absolutely right that the state law does not give us the authority to withhold a property because it's got a small balance. And that's one of the statutory changes that we're working with legislators right now to make clear that would have prevented that situation. Because the language of the state law is very clear that says the treasurer shall foreclose. So on the small balance issue, that would have resolved that individual's situation. And just real quickly, that individual that was talked about in that Wall Street Journal piece, that was an international real estate investor who's out of country and who purchased some investment properties and hired a domestic property management company to pay their taxes. That company left paid some, but left a small balance. They came to our office after the foreclosure deadline and after we had already sold that property at auction and said, hey, I got foreclosed. And I said, this is a tough situation, but what I counseled them at the time is to say, you have a fantastic recovery against this property management company because they're the ones that were negligent. And then they insisted on going ahead and proceeding with this lawsuit. But I would just say in closing on this that you saw the numbers about 97% of people in Oakland County paying their taxes on time. Of the 3% that don't pay, there's a couple different categories. One of the categories that we care about the most, frankly, is families who are in a principal residence. And that's where we focus our attention. That's where I go and knock on their door all across the county to say, hey, we haven't connected with you. We have 20 plus things that we do in addition to the state law to connect with them. The remainder are these folks that are in the business of real estate. And my caution to them is that real estate is a risky business, and that if you're in that game, then you can lose. And so that was a regrettable situation. As to the broader issue about what happens if there's equity in the property, the current law gives that money back to the county. And in Oakland County, because our values have been so high, that has generated significant dollars for the county. A lot of times we lose money if a property is sold, but we have some properties that do generate net proceeds. And I think what we want to avoid is a situation where some real estate speculator, buys a house cheap, rents it out without ever paying the taxes, is collecting the rent from the renter, lets it go into foreclosure, and then says, okay, Meisner, I'm going to show up and pick up my check. Thanks for being my involuntary realtor, and without getting a commission or anything. And so I think it's more complicated than was suggested in that Wall Street Journal piece. And I wrote a letter in response to the Detroit News that I can share as well. But it's a great example of some of these ways that the state law is in it's kind of tumultuous right now. And it's not totally clear to me how it's going to be resolved. But thank you for that. It's a thoughtful question.
Okay, I have Commissioner Miller.
Thank you for the presentation. So the LGIP,
Yeah.
did I say that right?
Yes, you got it.
Okay. Is there any by chance we can get a list of all like our communities?
Yes.
I don't want you to do it where it's per like our districts, but if we just get a list and then
Sure.
What's the criteria? Because I noticed you said that there was like some fire associations. So when we reach out to our communities to say, well, this is something that the county
Yeah.
offers.
The state law defines eligible participants as municipal entities.
Okay.
Inside the county borders.
Inside the county border, thank you.
So we have, Northville wants in, but Northville City Hall actually is not inside the county border, so it frankly doesn't meet state law's requirement.
But yeah, if there's other like authorities or things that are like kind of subsets of municipal entities that you have in mind, please let us know and we'd love to work with them.
Schools are the only entities that it's been determined are not eligible.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Now, with that, we do have other business. Any other business before? Under other business, in accordance with the 2019 rules for the Oakland County Board of Commissioners and miscellaneous resolution number 94005, I am appointing the following commissioners to the Audit Subcommittee for a 2-year term, concurrent with the Board of Commissioners term. Gwen Markham is chairperson of the Audit Subcommittee, William Miller is vice chairperson, and Eileen Kowal. Okay, and that's it. And any other business to come before the committee? The meeting is adjourned.